Alright, it's another splitter time. Today it's a splitter for a Clio. I've made mine, I've made a bunch of other splitters, and this one is for Michael Humes from Rydell Bodyworks. Good friend of mine, building a really fast Clio, probably not the fastest, but K20 powered, fully built engine, you know the score. So he wants the best, so he wants a carbon splitter. So he provided me with a template. So just wanted to make it nice and easy for everyone. So if you're planning to order a splitter from me, maybe any other part, but specifically with a splitter, the easiest way is to make a template first. It can be cardboard. He decided to make it in plywood because it was just easier for him. So you post this to me and then I take care of the rest. And this is what I'm going to show you in this video. Stay tuned.
That's a good one!
So it's not particularly big because he needs to be within the regulations. I can't remember exactly what it is for Pocket Rocket, but I can tell you that the width is 1800 millimeters. Well, 18 and 1. And the depth of 901. So it's not a very large one. Mine is much larger, and the recent one I made for Tigiva is way larger. So it's easy to do it from a single sheet of carbon because obviously it's under 1 meter, even though you can get a wider one, but it's just more expensive. So it's going to be a very simple infusion laminate. Splitters are fairly easy. They do require quite a lot of material, and but because they're flat, they are fairly easy to do at home by yourself if you fancy. If you don't fancy paying me, of course. So we are using 10 mil foam, tried and tested, good enough thickness, gives you plenty of strength versus weight and stuff. Not too expensive. So I'm gonna put foam in a minute, and then I'm gonna trace around the template of the foam. Then the foam needs to be cut to the shape of the splitter, and then the template can effectively go into storage. Then what I do is I profile the front edge because you don't want a sharp 90-degree sort of edge. You want it sort of shaped. So what I do is I shape one side and then the top will be flat. So basically we'll have like a lip going under the car. And as simple as that, glue those two together with tape, and then we're gonna cut carbon. So for this, I'm gonna be using a combination of materials, because obviously we wanna try and stay within budget, so to speak. So the top visual layer is obviously going to be carbon. Underneath is purely because it's roughly the same material, but it's really good for wear protection. Kevlar, and because I have plenty of it, we're going to use underneath as a Kevlar base, because obviously nobody will ever see it, but it's good for abrasion resistance if he's ever going to bottom out. And the middle, we're going to bulk up with e-glass. Why e-glass? Well, contrary to popular belief, it's quite strong. So it's not like, oh, carbon is the complete unique material that nobody can rival. Well, e-glass is slightly heavier, but if done right, it gives you just enough strength, providing that you have a proper laminate with carbon and everything. Anyways, purely for cost saving, because a meter of carbon, I mean, the biaxial I'm going to be using is, actually I'm not sure which one I'm going to use, 450 or 650, something like that. So a 200 gram carbon visual layer, and we'll need 2 meters of it. It's 29 pounds per meter, so 60 pounds just for one side. So imagine if you need to build it up. And I always say, a lot of people ask me, it's like, oh, what's your recommendation for the laminate thickness? I found myself, and obviously talking to people, that you need at least 2 layers of reinforcement, carbon or e-glass or whatever, on each side of foam to make it stiff. So you would end up using, what, 8 meters of carbon. That's a lot of cash. And e-glass is something like 5 or 6 pounds a meter, so it's 6 times cheaper, and the bulk layer on the inside, and you'll never see it anyways. And you know, I openly say to people what I'm going to do. I never sort of sell, oh, it's going to be pure carbon part, whatever. I always say that cost saving, I always give options, and a lot of people sort of understand that extra, I mean, what is it going to be? 100 grams maybe in weight, but 6 times cheaper. And a lot of people sort of resort to just save a little bit of weight, and not save a little bit, save a little bit of money in expense of the weight. So enough of chit chat. Let's cut foam, put it on the table, pre-cut all the material, and then laminate it. So here's our foam. As you can see, it's a specific foam for infusion because it has grooves and it has holes. And what's really cool about this foam is that resin, when it flows through, it stays inside those little holes, those little channels. So basically what it's doing, it acts as a bridge between top and the bottom layer of carbon, creating little sort of spiky bridges on the inside of the foam. So in compression, the foam will be extra thick, extra hard because of the resin sitting in between. Now we can place our splitter on top. And all we have to do now is trace around. Of course, there are a number of ways of doing it. You could theoretically make a big part like that, like a huge square piece, and then cut it with a jigsaw afterwards. So in theory, if you don't have a template, if you're doing it yourself, you can literally just make yourself a large sheet of carbon and then cut. But the problem is, this is your main problem. Once you cut your carbon, your sheet of carbon, your laminate, you will end up with an open edge of foam. It's still foam, it's not saturated with resin. So you would need to be able to protect this side somehow. There is a number of ways of doing it. You could theoretically just paint it and leave it as is, black or whatever color you want. You could apply epoxy resin, and this will definitely work. You could apply sealant such as PU18 and then basically just smooth it so it will be sort of nicely protected. But what I usually do is the reason why we're cutting it first, because you can fold your carbon over and with vacuum it will seal this edge. So this edge will be carbon as well. So this is what I'm planning to do. Now we can discard this for the time being. So this is our shape. So now we have to cut it. The easiest way is using a jigsaw, because jigsaw you can maneuver and do all nice shapes. You can cut it with a knife, it's fairly easy, but I found that using straight cuts is easy. You can just put a ruler and cut. Doing the sidey ones is not as easy because foam has a tendency to kind of snag on your blade, if you know what I mean. So it's a lot easier to just sort of with a jerk motion ruin it. Being foam, it's extremely easy to sand and shape afterwards. So I would always suggest cut on the outside of the line. So then you can sort of with a sandpaper or whatever tool you want to use, shape it to your line if you want it absolutely perfect. Sometimes it's not very critical because obviously once you cover it with carbon, you'll barely ever see any sort of deviations. Of course, you know, if it's a 10 mil sort of indentation, then you'll see that. But yeah, it's entirely up to you how you do this. So this is first half. Easy. Now we just need to shape this. So this is the carbon we're gonna use. The foam is outside and all sanded and ready. You'll see it in a minute when I put it on top. So I'm gonna use for the visual layer this large weave 2x2 twill. I think this is for 50 grams. I can't remember exactly. I have so many different rolls. But I think this will give us really, really nice visuals. Plus, being extra thick layer of carbon, I could theoretically end up using less e-glass, which will make it lighter and stronger. So now I loosely gonna cut 1.9 meters, because remember the split is 1.8. Always leave extra margin on either side, depending on your laminate, of course. So we're gonna loosely cut, put that roll away, put the foam on top, trim around a little bit, then put all the other layers. We have bottom layer, which is going to be underneath the carbon Kevlar. Then we have 650 biaxial. Then we have foam, but in corners here we're going to have a little sort of side plate. So I'll put extra reinforcement in there with a biaxial, and also in the center, because Michael is using my quick release splitter quick release system. So extra 2 reinforcements in here, little squares, just so it's a little bit more secure when you bowl straight through it, so it doesn't compress it as much. Not strictly necessary, but I have plenty of offcuts, and 2 little squares will just be much nicer strength-wise. So now all I have to do is put peel ply, and then we put mesh, and then we put a bag, and then we mix resin and let this sucker infuse. Wait 18 to 24 hours, trim, ready to sand it. Honestly, I think I can categorically say this is my best laminate for infusion so far. Feels like it. For few reasons. One, it doesn't drop. 15-minute vacuum leak test and it doesn't drop. Perfect. Also, I made it super neat. I mean, look how everything is, and you know, everything sort of goes. I'm just very happy. I mean, I took time and made this sort of nice because obviously I want to sell those because they're for the Clio, and I want to make sure that they are absolutely best. Plus, the person who this is going to, he has a bit of an OCD, so if it's not up to standard, he will complain to me. Obviously not to people because he's not. Anyways, very happy how it turned out. So now I kind of guessed how much resin we need. Mix it for a bit and let's infuse it. Okay, so while the splitter itself, the main body, is setting, I've making splitter tunnels because they will be part of the splitter. Haven't made a video on those because I have made the one in the past, but I haven't released it yet. Yes, it's probably overdue by like 9 months. So I haven't made the second one. Eventually I'll make the video of the original ones I made, so you will see them. And also, those little things, Michael very kindly provided me with little templates. I used some old number plate, I don't know. They kind of go on the side, they're basically side plates. Very simple. So I'm going to skin them. I don't have a mold or anything like that. And it should be absolutely fine. So I applied release agent, PVA in this instant. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick them like that onto my little thingy. Yep. And literally cover it with a couple of layers of carbon.
Tomorrow.
Alright, so about 19 to 20 hours passed. Mr. Humes himself, yeah, quality control at your service. So everything dried, and I was just telling to Mike that I think this one is my best one yet for a few reasons. One, it's just everything fell in place. You know how when you're doing something, it just feels naturally good. Like everything is just bum, bum, bum. There was no air leaks. There was nothing, you know, fabric folded well. There was no sort of spillages here and there. It was just like, everything fell in place. And it shows when I was taking the peel ply off, it just came off like as a complete unit without sort of, I know that there wasn't too much resin. And it just looks good. So we're first time peeling it off. Mr. Humes. I haven't seen it myself yet. I mean, if the bottom surface is good, the client should be happy.
You don't see the bottom.
Huh?
You don't see the bottom.
Well, this is the bottom.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh,
Kevlar.
so the other side. Oh,
The other side should be absolutely perfect, flat, sexy carbon stuff. Did I just jinx it? Said it's all perfect, and now it doesn't want to peel off. Because usually, comment. Yeah. Oh, come on, give us a look.
It's like air hockey.
Yeah.
I don't think you're going to get much better than that.
Yeah. Yep, like I said, it felt perfect. It felt natural. There's a few dry spots here and there I can see. I mean, they're not really dry spots. They're just sort of, I could have run a little bit more resin through here. I mean, on the in the cracks. But saying that, the important bit is the front.
See all this.
Yeah, exactly. You don't see any of that, and you can always just cover it with clear coat. But yeah, it's light, isn't it?
Very helpful.
I mean, considering the size and the thickness, I mean, if it was plywood, it would be at least 4 times heavier. So, all right, cool. I'm gonna end this one here. So, guys, you know well, you obviously know, you've seen my videos before if you're subscribed and stuff. If you're not, subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any of those videos. And this is a splitter for the Clio, and now I have a template, and Humes is gonna let me use a template. If you want one, I'll make you one.
Within regulation as well.
Huh?
Within regulation.
Within regulation, yeah. And you can have splitter tunnels fitted at the same time. Perfect. They worked out better than my original ones. It means A, Rusky is getting better, and B, I got some luck on my side if you want. So yeah, guys, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.